When my sister stood up at the family gathering and proudly announced she was pregnant again, I forced a smile, but inside my stomach twisted into knots. This would be her fourth child, and while everyone clapped, hugged, and congratulated her, I felt the weight of reality pressing down on me. It wasn't just her pregnancy that hit me. It was the unspoken truth everyone knew but never admitted. For years, I had been the one raising her kids, the one sacrificing my time, money, and energy, while she floated from one mistake to another. To everyone else, she was just an overwhelmed mother. To me, she was a reckless sister who had used up every ounce of patience I had left. That day, as I sat at the table and listened to the excitement buzzing around me, I realized something inside me had snapped. It had started years ago. My sister had always been wild, impulsive, chasing temporary thrills with no thought of tomorrow. When she had her first child, she was barely out of her teens. She wasn't ready, and everyone knew it. My parents stepped in at first, but as time went on, the responsibility slowly shifted onto me. I told myself I was doing it out of love, for the child, not for her. Then came the second baby, then the third. Each time, she leaned on me harder, knowing I wouldn't say no, knowing my guilt and sense of duty would trap me. She'd vanish for nights, claiming she needed a break, while I stayed home, rocking her babies to sleep, helping with homework, paying for food when she couldn't. Friends drifted away from me, opportunities slipped by, and still I told myself it was temporary. That one day she'd grow up and take responsibility. But standing there at that family gathering with her glowing face and careless laughter, I finally accepted the truth. She had no intention of changing. And if I didn't stop this cycle now, I would be chained to her children, to her mistakes, for the rest of my life. The days that followed were filled with quiet tension. My sister started dropping the kids off even more frequently, as if her announcement had given her permission to let go completely. She'd smile and say, "You're so good with them. I don't know what I'd do without you," before rushing out the door. She made it sound like a compliment, but I knew it was manipulation. I cooked, cleaned, helped with school projects, all while juggling my own job. Exhaustion clung to me. But what weighed me down most was the growing realization that no one else saw the truth. My parents praised her for being so brave. My relatives pitied her struggles, but none of them noticed that I was the one crumbling. Each night, when I tucked her children into bed, I looked at their innocent faces and felt torn apart. Angry at her, guilty for resenting them, and desperate for an escape. The breaking point came one evening when my sister returned hours late, smelling of alcohol, laughing on the phone with a friend. She didn't even thank me. She just picked up her kids and left without a word. That night, staring at the ceiling in my dark room, I realized I had been living her life instead of mine. Something had to change. The climax came when my sister showed up at my door one afternoon, bags in hand, announcing she was going on a trip for a few weeks. She shoved her kids toward me, expecting me to take them without question. But this time I didn't. I looked her in the eye, and for the first time in years, I told her no. Her smile faltered, her eyes narrowed, and she demanded to know what I meant. I told her I wasn't her babysitter, I wasn't her safety net, and I wasn't going to raise her children while she treated motherhood like an optional responsibility. Her face twisted in anger, then desperation, but I stood firm. When she tried to guilt-trip me, I calmly explained that I had already spoken to my parents and the rest of the family. I had told them everything. The nights I stayed up with sick kids, the money I spent, the jobs I lost because of her carelessness. I exposed every detail she had hidden behind her fake smiles and dramatic stories. The truth was out, and she couldn't escape it. For once, she was the one left scrambling, not me. In the days that followed, the fallout was brutal. My sister lashed out, calling me heartless, selfish, even jealous. But the family's perception of her shifted. They saw her for what she was, not a struggling mother, but someone who had been using me as a crutch while avoiding responsibility. Slowly, the burden began to lift from my shoulders. Social workers stepped in to help. My parents finally opened their eyes, and my sister had no choice but to face the reality she had avoided for years. For me, the change was transformative. I focused on my own life for the first time in years, rebuilding friendships, investing in my career, and reclaiming the freedom I had almost forgotten existed. The children still held a place in my heart, but I learned the difference between loving them and being used through them. My sister had mistaken my silence for weakness, but in truth, my patience had only made my final stand stronger. Looking back, I realized the announcement of her fourth pregnancy was the breaking point I needed. It forced me to confront the cycle I had been trapped in and finally choose myself. My sister thought she could go on forever, living recklessly while I bore the weight of her choices. But she was wrong. By exposing her and walking away, I taught her the lesson she had avoided all along: that being a parent is not a role you can abandon, and taking advantage of someone's love has consequences. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to stop carrying the load for someone else. And sometimes, the greatest act of love for yourself is the refusal to let others use you.